The sound of London.
Shay Gurdeval in the afternoon. BBC
Radio London.
Great to be with you. It's Shay here till 6 p.m. and it's the first week of the month. This is something we do. We started it last year and we've continued because it kind of feels like it's become even more of a pertinent topic to discuss is technology. And I'm joined in the studio now with our social media expert and also technology expert, founder of award-winning youth marketing agency Rocket. It's James Erskine. Great to have you back in the show.
It's so good to be back. Nice to see you, Shay.
Can I say, I don't often say it, but you smell great. You walked in and I was like, wow, whatever he's wearing, it's very nice.
Oh, there you go. Thanks.
Now, there's so much to discuss with you. I kind of looked at all of our stories today. I thought, well, where does one start? The one I suspect that a lot of our listeners will want details on, because, oftentimes we talk about scams.
Yes.
We discuss, the ways in which people may be scammed by a phone call. But there seems to be a rise of scammers and of use of AI. Tell me more around this particular series of stories.
Well, you're quite right to point this out. I mean, one of the articles I read around scamming was a really awful one of an elderly lady who had been scammed out of £20,000 by people that she met on a Scrabble app. So...
a Scrabble app?
Exactly.
Oh, goodness.
So what I suppose happens with technology is it breeds new ways to communicate. And with new ways to communicate are new scams for people to fall into. And I can speak as someone. I thought I was media literate. I thought I was digitally advanced.
Yeah.
I was scammed a couple of months ago.
What happened?
I got sent a text message that said, you need to pay for redelivery of a package. And I put in my credit card details and I just paid it, the £1.79. That I thought, bit strange, but I thought nothing of it. I then got a call saying, you've put your details into this website.
Right.
And it was the phone call that was following up that was the scam.
No.
Because they tried to get me to give them my bank details, my bank password that would have given them access. Now, luckily, genuine story, Shay, I didn't know my bank password. I get Face ID on my iPad.
Oh, right. So
and I tried twice and then I suddenly thought, hang on, is this the scam? And they put down the phone.
Well
and so I dodged a bullet. I was completely lucky. It wasn't through being clever. So I suppose what my arrogant point is, anybody can be scammed.
Yeah.
Now, what Virgin Media O2 have done is try to make this subject a bit funny. They have leaked the details of an AI granny called Daisy on a few scamming websites. And what Daisy does is wastes the time of scammers. And if you write AI Granny Daisy, you can listen to some of the conversations that Daisy has had with these people wasting scammers' time. And it's quite scary how all you need to do is leak this information in one place for suddenly somebody who is potentially quite old to that many scammers to get in touch with them.
I see.
It's also quite impressive how Daisy sounds like a real life conversation for these scammers, but also it's quite funny and it's a good way of highlighting that we all should be a bit more scam aware. Now, Daisy has said to some of these scammers, are you sure that's the right icon on my desktop? That looks like a pie to me. And then tried to get the scammers in a conversation about pies.
I see.
She said that she deliberately tries to waste their time by saying, I can't work the on button.
Yeah.
Some of the comedy in this is really very good.
Especially for people like, if you've been scammed, one of the worst feelings is, of course, unfortunately, everything that's been taken, you feel violated. But then you also don't know who the person is. You just kind of... You want them to have a taste of their own medicine, to be frank with you, James.
Absolutely. And that is one of the things that this does. This kind of is a good way to laugh. Now, there's a serious message behind it. And I applaud Virgin Media O2 for doing this. I also think that what this is really clever at doing is making us more scam aware. Now, I actually work with an organisation called Media Smart. And they are paid for by the Advertising Association of Great Britain, and they educate children about online advertising.
I see.
But part of one of the things that they've educated children about is online scams, with a scam awareness piece that can be taught in schools and parents can find out more about it. So you hear me most months when I come in to talk about technology, social media stories. There should be digital literacy. There should be media literacy. I'm widening that to say there should be scam literacy. We need to know where these scams are going to bite us.
That's a really, really strong point, which some of us don't think about. I would quite happily sign up for any kind of, scam literacy education or courses or something, because you're right. There's so much to stay on top of, isn't it?
Completely. And I think all we can do, actually, and it's almost like a nationwide support group, we just have to keep sharing the message it can happen to anybody. That's why I'm so keen to talk about
I'm really glad.
Scammed.
I'm really glad that you have. And it's one that, you and I have discussed before, because I constantly have a mantra at home with my father-in-law, who I call Dad.
Yeah.
And I always say, and a mantra's the same, if they've called you, put the phone down.
Yes.
And he there's been a couple of times where legitimately he's believed that his bank has called him. And I'll come running into the living room from the kitchen, or as soon as I hear it, I'm like, Dad, put the phone down. Put the phone. And he's like, no, but Shay. And I said, no. If it's legitimate, you put the phone down. Yeah. You wait 5 minutes and then you call the number that you are aware of. It's on your card.
Completely.
And I know I sound so condescending when I'm saying this, but it's literally the conversation I have with Dad every time. And now he's got it. I'm like, that's the mantra, Dad. If they call you, put the phone down.
Completely.
Do you think it's a good one?
I think that's a really good mantra. If I'd have done that, I wouldn't have got through to where I was in terms of being scammed.
Because my take is, if it's legitimate, right, and my bank has called me, well, they won't mind if I say, hold on, I need a couple of minutes. Yeah. I'm going to call you back.
Completely.
Do you see what I mean?
100%. And do you know the direction of travel for scams, Shay?
That's 5 words. I'm going to call you back.
Completely. But the direction of travel is what AI may be able to do, and technically already can do, but it could replicate the voice of somebody that you know and love.
Oh, no.
And fake a phone call saying, can you wire £100 to my bank account?
Okay.
That could feasibly happen. So one of the conversations I've heard when doing a little bit of research looking into scams, actually, and this sounds incredibly alarmist, but I don't think it's the worst idea, have a safe word or ask a question of the voice that only they will know the answer. When was the last time I saw you? When was, or even have a safe word so you know that it's
well,
real.
Don't do something like, what's your anniversary, right? Because most of us are on social media.
Yes.
And most of us will post when it's our anniversary. But I get what you're saying, that there will be certain things about your partner, your loved one, your friend that only you will know.
Correct.
Right? Like, I went out for dinner on Monday night with my girlfriends. Only they and I know where we went, because they blooming kept changing their minds. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, like, I know no one else would know that, because even when I got to the venue, they changed it again.
Yeah.
So that's a very valid point. So I think I'd love to delve more into this idea, as you say, of scam literacy that we all need to be aware of. Let's, just because of time, let's move to the next story, because there's so much to discuss. This is a London-related one, which I was very intrigued by. And it's Sainsbury's removes, quote, just walk out tech from London stores. What's going on here?
So what happened was there is a Sainsbury's in Holborn where they put in some Amazon product that effectively allows us not only to not have a cashier at the till, not only to not scan our items on the way out, but literally to walk out the store. And it's funny because I've done it before in an Amazon store. Okay. It feels
weird.
Wrong.
It feels wrong.
It feels
strange.
Like
I'm breaking the law.
And what I'm fascinated by is you'll often hear me talk about every technological advance. Well, in this instance, we're going backwards, because Sainsbury's, for that store, have got rid of that technology.
Okay.
Now, they've not said why.
Right.
What they have done is taken it out the store. Amazon have also done a slight tweak for their own Amazon Fresh stores, where you don't just walk out, you do total up the bill and pay on an app. So it looks like it was a technological step too far. And all I'm wondering, and I'd love to hear from your listeners, I'd love to get the thoughts on is, when has technology gone too far? And do we, when we're shopping, miss human interaction? Actually, would everybody love to go back to a cashier person at the till?
Yeah.
And look, we know technology is changing the way we shop. We know that we buy off social media. We know we buy online. But I just thought it was really fascinating that we're taking a technology step backwards and we've said no to this technology.
See, I'm intrigued by that because I always feel like when I'm in America, I feel like they've gone the other side of the spectrum. They're just too nice. Like, I remember one time visiting my aunt and for Christmas, and we were in Chicago, and pretty much every store I went into, as soon as I walked in, there would be someone there saying, "Happy holidays."
Yes.
I remember after the 10th time, I was like, oh my God, I'm just going to die. I cannot take this anymore.
Yeah.
And because they were so nice, they were so friendly, they were just wanting to help. And I just kind of thought, can you just leave me alone?
I have a really similar, when I first went shopping in America.
Yeah.
When people say, "How are you doing?" you think, "Oh, well, I need to get into a conversation."
Yeah.
Whereas actually, most Americans, "How you doing?" "Yeah, good."
That's
then
it.
they carry on about their day. Whereas as a kind of British person, "Yes, very well. How are you?"
How are you?
And
Yeah. It's our manners, you see.
Well, there you go.
It's the etiquette. But so this is the whole point that I think for a lot of us, what we are realising, especially with the rise of online shopping, as you've already mentioned, with the advancements of technology, literally parcels being delivered to your doors within hours of you having ordered it.
Yeah.
Some of us need that human interaction.
Completely. And I think the wider debate is, what is the high street for? So I remember saying to you a few years ago, we're very near Oxford Circus and Regent Street, and all the stores now that are the biggest stores are the stores that they don't really need to make money. The Microsoft store is a show basically of Microsoft's products.
True.
The Apple store has lectures in it, has product demonstrations. Even the Ralph Lauren shop is there more as a status symbol than as a retail experience. So it's interesting that the high street is changing and we need to have a think about what it's for.
Let's move to the next question then, discussion, shall we? This is one that I know it's been hugely discussed online. Australia banning DeepSeek on government devices over security risks. That's what the BBC was reporting. You wanted to kind of have a wider conversation around how this small Chinese AI startup DeepSeek shocked Silicon Valley.
Well, it was amazing because nobody saw it coming. I don't know if you know this, but China, because of the trading restrictions it has with other countries globally, can't get the same quality of chips into its own industry.
Right.
So they're starting from a disadvantaged position. But what they've done, in quote marks, on the cheap, still costing millions of dollars, but on the cheap compared to American companies, is they have built something that is just as good as ChatGPT. DeepSeek went to the top of the App Store last week.
Wow.
And the reaction at the American stock market was huge because what they'd seen was American companies in Silicon Valley had spent so much more than what this Chinese company had spent to create DeepSeek, that it almost capsized the American stock market. Now, the American stock market has recovered, but what's funny is this is like an arms race to the AI pinnacle. Okay. And China are doing a really good job with less resources and less investment at coming up with genuinely competitive products. Now, I've tried DeepSeek. It's really good. I couldn't tell the difference between ChatGPT and DeepSeek.
Interesting.
The one thing I would say, and this is what this piece said on the FT and in The Guardian, is you can look and find some Chinese propaganda within DeepSeek. So there was a piece in the New York Times that said when you search for specific things, you can find slightly different information than you would otherwise on ChatGPT.
If we could just take the conversation a little bit further, this has just been updated in the last hour. So I appreciate that there's more information people can get on the BBC website. But it says there's a growing concern over Google ending a ban on AI weapons. Google's parent company has lifted a long-standing ban on artificial intelligence being used for developing weapons and surveillance tools. It's incredibly concerning. is what the Human Rights Watch has said and has also criticised this decision. Give us more context on this.
I think what you're seeing is we as a society are learning to trust AI. And it's funny, AI is advancing in so many ways, but one thing I have seen is you do need a human element of control.
Okay.
There was a fascinating thing where Apple were releasing news headlines that were inaccurate last year, and they did not have the human element there that was checking.
Right.
When you bring AI into areas like health, operations and weapons, what you're starting to do is think, that's quite scary. We can't have AI
completely
make decisions without human beings.
Okay.
So what we're seeing from Google is they've said, we trust AI to make those decisions. And what we're seeing to people opposing that thinking is you need more human interaction there. Now, my guess is that somewhere between the two, the answer will lie.
I see.
If you have a piece of AI technology, funnily enough, I was talking to a business this week. They're called Promo Comply, and they help people working in the financial industry make sure all of their advertising is compliant.
Okay.
But the key thing there is the AI takes you to a human decision.
Okay.
It doesn't make the decision autonomously
Right.
without the human being.
We need to
saying,
hold on to control.
Yes,
it's kind of
completely.
like if you put AI in school and we need to be the head teachers.
Yes,
Bringing
completely.
it back to the conversation I'm having today about schools. Just finally, I mean, it's quite pertinent. We had Grammys this week. You wanted to talk music industry, perhaps changing for the better or not.
It depends. There's two schools of thought on this.
Okay.
The reason why it was brought to my attention was this week Spotify reported its annual profits and premium subscriber numbers are surging. So finally Spotify is making serious money. Also, at the same time, Spotify, they've hit this 675 million that they are making, but they're also talking about the payments that they're putting into the music industry, reaching record amounts. All I would say is the music industry has shifted. When I was growing up, it used to be you would go and see a live tour to promote the album.
Yeah.
It's almost now gone full circle where the music is the disposable commodity that promotes the live experience if you're a big enough band. I'd also say technology's disrupted the whole music space. There's petitions now currently set up to support live music venues that aren't the ones that everybody's heard of. So the music industry has been shaken up beyond all doubt over the last 10 or 15 years. What I'd love to know is, how do we keep on making sure we can hear new bands?
Yes.
And what do people think about the music industry now we don't own physical music as much?
It's quite something. Last week we had this whole conversation about the resurgence of sales of vinyls with Gen Z, and it's to a certain degree perhaps we are going full circle on this. James, it's always a pleasure having you here on BBC Radio London. People can find you on James Erskine, can't they?
Yes, they can on X and Blue Sky.
And on Blue Sky as well. And come back. I look forward to our next chat.
Already looking forward to it.
Cannot wait. Thank you for joining me today, James Erskine, our resident social media and technology expert, bringing us the top stories, especially when it comes to the world of AI, it so seems. Right, it is 5 o'clock now. Let's get the headlines on BBC Radio London.